Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mr.Pickles. Thank you for joining me today. In today's episode, episode 6, Theme Park Tycoon 2, Roblox. Let's get started. We're picking up where we left off. If you are unaware of where we left off, we are building a space-themed Theme Park Tycoon park. I get heavy inspiration from the Disney parks and this idea of lots of theming to make a space look really good. The first thing I wanted to do, I wanted to figure out a way to I just become familiar with ideas of blocking the buildings, so when you're actually in the park, you can't actually see the building itself. That was the goal anyways. That's what we're kind of looking into. I ended up looking for rides. Just what if I have a large empty space? What if I could find a space ride that we could just plop in the back? I ended up not putting any rides and just leave that space open. I decide, what if we could make some traffic? So I had this idea for a monorail highway, or this section of monorails where a ton of monorails are going past. And so I just start coming up with the ideas and just pretty much brainstorming, getting these track pieces to parallel the actual train itself. I end up getting the game just really does not want to place this track piece next to the piece of the actual main train, but the main monorail. I just do tests when they come past at the same time. I really like the idea of these trains like coming past each other at high speeds, to make it look like there's more trains on the line and that something important is happening. I really just spent a lot of time just a giant headache that was this section of the ride. I end up doing some more train pieces. I keep calling them train pieces. The monorail pieces. They end up coming out really quite nice. These monorails are such a headache to get into place when you're running them next to each other, because they constantly want to go through the block, the section next to them, and it just makes doing these challenges just a giant headache, and it's so unfortunate. But I endure the headache, and it actually comes out really quite nice. So I'm really happy with the way things end up coming out. So I'm just trying to work on these little track segment pieces, trying to smooth it out, make everything work, and the whole train connect. It honestly comes out pretty good. I'm really happy with the way it turns out. We're just working on the track pieces, just trying to get everything all square in order. That's the goal, at least anyway. I end up removing this track, and I end up doing it one further back. And this was just to give me more space, because I really needed the space. I moved both of the trains back, and this made a huge difference. It really made the headache go away, and just made these trains just enjoyable. I ended up just putting these trains on perpetual loop of testing, and I think it really comes out nice. I gotta figure out how to full 180 these trains, and it actually works. I get both these trains up and running. I don't like the direction of these trains, so I end up flipping one of the trains and just putting it in the opposite direction, just to give it more of like a highway feel, to where trains could actually cross in several directions. Like, my goal was to make it look like chaos, but it's good chaos. It's planned chaos, and this kind of gave it the idea. I was thinking about having lots of one trains run like quickly around the track, but the train can't actually start until the next one gets back. So I was like, okay, well that defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do. So I made bigger trains. I ended up settling on three long trains, like trains with 3 cars on the monorail track, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. So now I just basically get back to pretty much building up the walls, trying to make it look as good as possible, and just really adding some details and walls just to try to make it disappear is my main goal. I also wanted to add some little lights, some poles with some lights on them that light up, just to kind of to either have some green lights or some red lights that make it feel like these trains are actually receiving signals of like where they can be trains and like how fast they can go and all that kind of cool stuff. I really like the way it turns out. I keep adding walls to this back section because you can see a lot down there from where you're progressing your train. So I end up doing that. I really like the way it turns out. I was thinking about adding some pieces. I ended up going with nothing. I really like just the bland piece that we have. I really think it turns out nice. We end up adding some brick walls, some of the pieces. Things are going pretty nice. I like the way it's turning out. We're just adding some wall blocks. This is just, again, like I say, this is mainly so your camera cannot glitch through the wall and you can see to the backstage areas. So I just put in a bunch of tile pieces just to kind of keep your camera from doing some weird janky stuff. That's the goal anyway. It comes out way better when there are blocks to actually keep you, because your camera glitching through is just so annoying. So that's what we end up doing. I add the floor pieces. I end up ditching the ceiling and just going for straight concrete. It wasn't even that it was cheaper, it was that it was easier and I could actually build on the floor beneath. And that was a big part of what I was looking to do. I have to repaint eventually the brown ceiling. That's for sure, but for the time being, it stays the same. I try to figure out a way to make this work, this piece go around this corner, and it actually works pretty easily. I was so happy. I was like, oh, thank gosh that I didn't have to rework all the track designs. I'll be real, I was very thankful. Now just going in to add, like I said, some just lights to make it seem like trains are actually coming down these areas. So I make the lights green, and I really like how it comes out. So the lights on the right side are green, the lights on the wrong side are red, just to kind of keep it, to make it look like it's an actual train system. I thought it was pretty funny. My train, whenever you edit your train, it immediately goes to as long as it possibly can. So you have to manually change it back to something slower. I do another one of those things. At night, it looks so cool with the lit up train markers. It makes it look like a real monorail. We end up going with some more little lights, and I really start to love the lighting features And I really start to like fall in love with the idea of being able to put these lights in different spots to really make everything pop. I end up extending the walls. I decide to go with the white metal walls like we've done with everything, but I decide to make the metal walls 4 high instead of 5 high. And this is just a trick that Disney uses called forced perspective. As things get further away, they get smaller, and this tricks the brain into thinking that they're further away. You can also use this to make things smaller at ground floor and make things bigger as they get further, and this gives the idea that things are bigger than they actually are from far away. Lots of cool tricks you can do. So I'm pretty much just trying to figure out a way, how can I block this building but also keep it looking good at the same time. So I work with it a bit, just kind of messing with some ideas on how we could actually rework this system to keep it good. I end up looking at some pictures of some stuff that we could actually add and end up tinkering around with the idea of changing some of this stuff. I add some of these railing pieces, and then I decide to... I actually don't know what I decide to do next. I don't know what the plan is. I add some more glass pieces to the top. This gives a nice image of what I'm trying to project. Like the idea of this high-tech, super futuristic walls. I go to remove those pieces, but I'm like, that's actually part of the ride, so that's not... We can't actually remove those pieces. So, we end up... I don't know what I'm looking for at this point. I honestly have no idea. Not really sure what I'm doing. But that's okay. Apparently someone was talking a lot, because if you look at the top left-hand corner, there's 165 missed chat messages. So I don't know who was chit-chatting on this server, but dang, they were talking a lot. Add these wall pieces. My ideology is that I don't want anyone in the park to be able to see any of this. The goal is that from the park, all you can see are these like made buildings that keep the realism, that you can't actually see the granite and stuff. That's the goal anyway. Especially in the space themed land, I really want to keep this idea of like a super futuristic NASA building that works well. Just end up adding some walls. I may remove the walls. I don't really like the way it looks, but we might remove those later. I noticed that this wall isn't even painted, so I quickly paint the wall. The paint comes out nice. I noticed that there was a wall piece that was just messing everything up, so I just got rid of it. I wanted to add some trees to the back of this, some bushes, make it look nice. Just to kind of block up the back of the building, make something there. I might get rid of those trees and just put some props, but for the time being, it's just some trees. You know what I should have put? I should have put an evil duck. Why didn't I put an evil duck? That was so dumb of me. Clearly I should have put an evil duck, because that definitely blends in with the futuristic theme I'm looking for. I drained the water because I want to put these pillars in. I decide for the time being to put a pillar in every 2, but I will switch it to 3 walls apart, because I don't like the way that the 2s fit in with what we're doing. I stopped the monorails because they're giving me a considerable amount of lag. I don't know if you can tell in this video, but I was lagging quite a bit, so I ended up just turning them off for the time being. And I add the concrete blocks just to keep cameras from glitching through walls, because it is annoying when you walk through and your camera glitches through the wall. It's just super annoying. So we end up building the walls up. And I wonder, I'm like, what if I could do something for these walls at night? And I decide to do something crazy. So I'm going to take a bunch of spotlights and I'm going to shine them at the wall at night. And the spotlights are going to be so low that you can't actually see them. And it's going to give this really cool appearance at night of the walls lighting up. And I honestly, this is one of my favorite parts of the project. I think this looks so good. I'm so happy with how this turns out. I end up adding more lights than one would expect, but it comes out so good. I really fell in love with the lights. It's so stupid, and it's so like, it's literally just lights, but I think it looks awesome. So for the next few days, when it becomes night, I'll go up there and I'll just mess around with the lights, see if I can get them to my liking, and then when it becomes day, I just go back to doing other things. That system honestly ends up working pretty well. We're just adding in some wall pieces. I use the black granite just because that section of the wall is the wall is more Space Mountain themed, so I wanted to keep the wall patterns. I'm starting to get really fed up with these curbs, so I might be removing all curbs from this, which is going to be a tedious task because I would literally have to remove all of them by hand. I try some other colors with the curbs and just end up being like, none of these look good. So we might be removing these curb pieces pretty soon. Just add in some walls, keeping everything consistent. I like the idea of a big open section over here. I start adding the walls for the actual staircase. The walls, when it starts to get enclosed, it actually starts looking really nice. I try to figure out some railing that we could use. I end up going with these triangle pieces, and I end up painting them the same color. I think it ends up coming out nice, and this is incredible. So the green and red light mix together, and it makes a rainbow. I did not even plan for that. It just happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got so lucky, and it was actually insane how good it looked on the inside. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that there's just a rainbow on the inside, but I was so happy with the way that this looked. I thought it looked so cool. I feel like I say that a lot in episode 6, but the rainbow, I was really happy for this happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. I end up just messing around with the wall pieces. I end up going back to just regular walls. I might keep the slanted wall. I wasn't sure. We'll see. We'll see if I change it. I record these voiceovers after the episodes, so I don't remember exactly everything that I did. But I remember most of the stuff that we end up changing. I'm also recording these voiceovers probably about 2 months after filming the actual episode itself, the time lapse. So these are super. I remember most of the stuff, but I don't remember all of it. I end up adding this button in. This button comes in nice. It won't actually add the button because there's actually a floor beneath it. And every time you place a floor beneath it, the button automatically goes away. So I was like, all right, that's not going to work. So let's just put the red button back. It is what it is. We're going to continue. Actually, I don't know what. Oh, I'm going to add a ladder. Are we going to get started on the roof? Potentially. I don't know. I'm adding ladders, so it would seem like we're going to get started on the roof. But add some spotlights. Didn't really like the dark spot. The dark spot. Wasn't a big fan, so we just get rid of it. Add another light. I try to do different colors, the blue and orange, which is really the theme that we have going here. And that is kind of what we keep with that theme idea. We'll add some wall pieces just to kind of keep everything in check, in order. Keep everything symmetrical. We end up adding some concrete blocks just to kind of break up the room. And then we add walls. So the actual section of the rocket ship is going to be really a tall ceiling. Or that's the goal, at least. It's just this really tall ceiling piece. We ended up trying to put lights on ceilings. It doesn't work. I don't know why. I don't realize that you can literally put there's a certain type of light that you can literally put absolutely everywhere. I failed to notice this. I moved the ceiling down one because I kind of want it to be not cramped, but I don't want it to be giant ceilings. I want it to fit in nice. So that was the idea, was to actually make it a little bit more on the cramped side. Instead of these giant ceilings, because it's just a ride in the back section of a room. I ended up changing the light a little bit. I was trying to get some cool colors, but I may keep the lights for this episode, but coming the next episode, these lights will not be here. I made the lights really bright. It wasn't updating. I was like, man, why can't I get this light to work? And then it switched, and it was like, boom, instantly blinding everyone who's under the light. We had these the roof parts, the roof ceiling up for most of the room, and then I add the walls all the way up to the top of the height. That way, so we can put in the roof. And just take a bit of a look around. Add a ladder up to the top floor. And then we're just going to add some glass ceiling tiles. And just make the whole ceiling out of these glass ceiling tiles. I realized afterwards that you can actually change the tiles, but for now, tiles. But for now, we will keep them the way they are. I'm happy with the way that they turned out. I make the ceiling white in that section. Pretty standard stuff. Trying to keep with it. The whole themed aesthetic we have going on. It is really, really dark when you enter this room. So I add some lights actually behind the pictures just to kind of light it up. That's the goal anyways, at least, is to give it some light. I was trying to come up with different ways of bringing light, but that is actually the end of our time lapse. So what you're watching right now is actually the ride and how it looks for the time being. So this is what it looks like with everything turned on. So hopefully you enjoy. I'm going to leave you here to watch the rides to actually see what riding the ride would actually look on the on-ride POV. Which, if you don't know what a POV is, it's point of view. But I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to head out. Thank you very much. I'm going to take my briefcase and go back to work. And hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, if you could hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot. Lets other people see it. And you can subscribe if you want to or don't. You know, I'm not your dad. You know, do what you want. It's a free country. Okay? And hopefully you enjoy. And I will see you all, hopefully, in the next video. Bye-bye. Have an awesome day. Outro.